Hi, I'm Joel from Jonesy's Auto Restoration in Ridgefield, Washington, and I'm going to talk to you about painting tools. The first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to get set up with a workstation that has all of the tools laid out in an organized manner so that you can grab them efficiently and effectively. The worst thing that you can do is get right in the middle of painting. You're mixed up all your paint, you're ready to go, and then all of a sudden, oh no, where is my safety glasses? Where's my respirator? So what I like to do is I like to get set up with all of my tools here that I commonly use for all my painting projects, with my flammable cabinets to each side of a workbench. I put down an old scrap piece of steel to kind of catch paint drips and to protect any of your other workbenches from the chemicals and the paint contamination. You can kind of see it looks like it's unorganized, but it really is organized pretty well. I've got paint cups here that I use to mix. I've got a waste chemical can. This is just an old paint can that I pour lacquer thinner in. I have a magnetic strip here with all of the tools that I need to disassemble and clean all my guns. Little brushes, paint can opener, a couple of razor blades, a multi-wrench, which is a very, very good tool. It has all the different sizes to disassemble and reassemble all of the paint guns, all right here within arm's reach. I keep my thinner, my lacquer thinner close, as well as the cans of paint that I'm actually going to be using. I try to keep those above. On top of that, you'll go through gloves like crazy. You'll should definitely have a couple boxes in spare. There's nothing worse than starting a painting project and just running out of latex gloves. So definitely have to have those. Kind of a more academic approach that I take is I always have a pad of paper and a clipboard so that I can keep notes. If you have to paint the same color over again and different times, then you need to keep track of your gun pressure and your settings on your gun. So like for instance, if you're spraying a metallic and you don't get the gun set up exactly the same, the next time you spray it, it might look a little differently. The metallic might lay down a little bit differently. So keep notes on those projects and then review them so that you can reference that information so that every time you paint, you learn a little bit more. Kind of moving on to some of the hardware of painting. I have an assortment of guns. I have a gun that's different for spraying primers. The difference is the size of the tip. The primers are a lot heavier paint. You need a much larger tip so that the paint can flow out. In addition to that, the primers inevitably spray more, and so they get used and abused significantly, and you don't want to have your top coat being contaminated by residual primers that stay in the guns. And so for color and clear, I have one designated gun that's all it sprays. It never sprays any kind of primers. They appear to be very similar, but the internals are a little different, and the tips are missing right now, but the tips are different size. And oftentimes the cups, you can use a different size cup. For doing small projects, it's pointless to load up a humongous gun. So if you're doing all kinds of little detail work, I recommend getting a very smaller version. These can be purchased inexpensively. The inexpensive guns function and are adjusted in exactly the same manner as an expensive gun. So what I would suggest is, if you're new to painting, then buy a gun kit. It'll come with a small gun and it'll come with a larger gun, and then practice on it. You'll maybe spend $100, $150 to get those two guns. And honestly, you can get some phenomenal results with those guns. They're not inferior, they work fine. They don't last as long. The chemicals in the thinners deteriorate a lot of the seals. They inevitably will wear out on you, but it'll allow you to get your feet wet with spraying paint and get comfortable spraying paint, and then you would really truly appreciate and be able to use a more expensive gun. Continuing on with some other products and other things that you're going to want, this is a specialty gun. It can be purchased at pretty much any auto parts store for about $30 to $40. It's what's called an undercoating gun, And what you do is you actually just screw the cans of undercoating or bed liner. If you want to do your own spray and bed liner, you just screw them right onto the can, right onto this gun, and it just shoots it out. I can show you an example of what the surface finish looks like on that. But this can save you a ton of money by undercoating your own fender wells, undercarriage, or even spraying a spray-in bed liner. Auto paint supply places can sell you bed liner products that are a two-part. Don't ever get one that's not a two-part. They don't hold up, they're not as good. So get a two-part bed liner kit and spray it out with your undercoating gun. Finally, we're going to talk a little bit about safety. Now, whenever you use automotive grade paints, they should come with MSDS sheets that tell you all of the bad and harmful things that can result by using their product, okay? Keep the paint MSDS sheets in a binder so that you can reference them in case you have any kind of adverse reaction. That's the first thing that you're going to want to go to is an MSDS sheet. In addition to that, you want to keep all of your mixing information. These paints and primers mix in all kinds of different ratios, 2-to-1, 4-to-1, with thinners, and it's too difficult to try to memorize all of that stuff. So keep it in a 3-ring binder and have it at your paint workstation so that you can reference it. Wear a respirator. Don't try to do this stuff without wearing a respirator. These chemicals can be absorbed through your eyes, through your skin, so always protect your hands, always protect your lungs and your eyes by wearing a respirator when you spray. Never try and spray paint in any kind of enclosed environment. Do not spray paint in your garage. There's all kinds of flammable things that can go wrong in your garage and you won't have a good product. So I recommend talking to some people at some paint stores and finding a paint booth that you can rent. Most of the time, guys, paint shops, if they're slow, they'll rent you their booth and let you use a lot of their good equipment for an entire weekend. So that concludes, and I'm going to leave you with one last little piece of advice. Take your time, plan your project, and do a bunch of research on what products you're going to be using before you ever go out and decide you're going to spray.